Well, folks, the Liberals have just tabled their 2025 budget. It is something that Carney has dubbed as a generational budget. Here it is, folks. I would argue that the only thing generational about it is the fact that it creates a massive debt load that will get passed on from one generation to the next. If that is his goal, then kudos to Mark Carney. He has achieved his generational budget. Let's talk about it for just a moment. The Liberals, they've been in power for 10 years, and year over year, election after election, they ask Canadians to just trust them a little bit longer. Things will get better. But when we look at what has happened over the last 10 years, that's not the case. Things have actually gotten worse. We know that the debt load has doubled. We know that the cost of housing has doubled. We know that the lineups at food banks have doubled. This evening, when Mr. Carney tabled that budget, it is more than just dollars and cents. It is actually putting forward a vision for the country. And so I think it's important for us to look at what that vision is. I would argue that for this Liberal government, it is filled with debt, it is filled with higher taxes, and it is filled with more costs to Canadians. I would contend that Canadians deserve better, that you deserve more. The Liberals promised that they would change their ways, that they would rein in their spending. Mark Carney, touted himself as this great fiscal manager. But in fact, what we see in this budget is very different than that. Justin Trudeau, in his last budget, his deficit was about $42 billion. In this budget, Mark Carney's budget, the deficit is almost $80 billion. 80. So it's almost double what Justin Trudeau had. The important thing to remember here is it's not just a number. It means something. This year alone, the interest payment on Canada's debt is expected to be in the realm of $53.4 billion. $53.4 billion is going to be spent just on servicing the debt. So that's just the interest payment. To put this into perspective, this is more than what we spend on Canadian healthcare for those in the entire country. This is more than what the federal government transfers to the provinces. That's crazy. When the government spends money it doesn't have, we all suffer because it either means increased taxes or it means cutbacks to programs that we appreciate, such as healthcare. Conservatives have a different vision, a vision that puts people at the forefront. We called on the government to provide an affordable budget for an affordable life. We called on the government to do a few things, simple things, that would help serve Canadians really well. We asked them to scrap the hidden taxes within our food costs. So for example, the current government under Mark Carney has put in place an industrial carbon tax. That tax is paid by farmers who produce our food. Of course, that tax gets passed on to us at the grocery store when we go to purchase those food items. So let's scrap that. Let's bring back affordability. In addition to that, we asked that they would stop the inflation tax by bringing the deficit under control. Well, we learned tonight that's not going to be the case. Instead, this government is going to continue to print money. Well, when the government prints money, it drives up the cost of everything, from food to housing to home heating to the fuel that we put in our vehicles, the clothing that we wear. Everything goes up in cost when the government decides it's going to print money. And they just announced tonight that they're going to be printing a whole lot of it. Thirdly, we asked them to unleash our economy by unlocking natural resource development across the country. And there are simple laws that can be scrapped in order to accomplish this. Bill C-69, Bill C-48 would unleash the energy sector, the natural resource sector as a whole, and allow us to move forward in this area by providing great jobs and, of course, pumping more money into the economy. Every Canadian deserves a government that puts people first. And putting people first means increasing affordability. Increasing affordability by cutting taxes, not adding new taxes to pay for the government's out-of-control spending and growing debt load. So on behalf of all Canadians who can no longer afford to eat or heat or house themselves, my Conservative colleagues and I cannot, in good conscience, vote for today's budget. We cannot. Instead, we must continue fighting for Canadians and for affordability measures, and we're going to do just that.